Good evening, everyone, and welcome to EduTALK. EduTALK is a virtual talk show created out of the need for a global learning community, and we focus on topics in education that directly impact Caribbean nations and diaspora nationals working across the globe. EduTALK features teachers, principals, business leaders, dignitaries, administrators who share their expertise on critical topics facing education today, with a common goal of moving education forward and our students upward. I am your host. I'm Dr. Dwayne Dice, and I am the founder and the CEO of Education Solutions International. Please visit Education Solutions International at edusolutions.org for more information on this show, as well as workshops, conferences, and resources for your school or your school community. I am joined for this EduTalk with Mr. Norman Kim Sr., and he is the Director of Externship, and that's our topic this evening, externships for the McCain-Ravenel Center.
McCain-Ravenel Center, yes.
Okay, and he's also a Spanish teacher and at the Episcopal High School, and that's in Virginia in the US. What I love about Mr. Kim Sr. is the fact that he's Jamaican and he's making waves in America. So this is really remarkable. So we're gonna talk and share about externships, so people can have an idea, and also not just the idea, but how you can implement some of these things in your school community as well, whether you are in Japan or China or in the Caribbean or in Africa, South Africa, or whichever African country you're in, and in Europe and so on. Okay. This is your first time, Norman. Welcome to EduTalk.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you very much. I said you're from Jamaica, so give us, because I know you're from Spanish Town or St. Catherine.
I am from Spanish Town. Well, not from Spanish. I'm from Jamaica. I went to school in Spanish Town, but I grew up in Old Britain, to be specific.
Yes. And then give us your high school.
So I went to Johnathan Grant High School, White Church Street in Spanish Town. And that's the last school I was at before I left. So I left Jamaica when I was 16. Oh. And I left to go to a school in Wales. It's called the United World College of the Atlantic. So I did the CXCs and completed that. And then right after that, I went to the school, and that kind of started this whole journey. I didn't exactly expect to end up in the US, but one thing leads to the next, and here we are.
Yeah, it's very good. It's kind of similar to some of us who really said, hey, I'm gonna do this, and then you end up staying for a while, and then you say, this really is not too bad. I could live here for a little while. And then, but we have in the back of our mind that we're going back home. Home is Jamaica too. So you work at the Episcopal High School. What is it an independent school or private school or what?
Yeah, so independent and private is basically the same. So it's a private all boarding school. We have about 460 students. Our students are from many different states in the US, as well as from several countries abroad. So it's not officially an international school, but we definitely have a significant international student population.
Okay, wow. Okay, that's good. And in Virginia,
yeah. So we're right outside of DC.
Right. It's very close to DC, so people can, if they're visiting DC, they're very, very close to you. So the other thing that I want to clear up with people, because I even choked up on the center, is the McCain-Ravenel Center.
Yes.
What is that about? Because this is the first time I'm hearing about that center.
Okay. Yeah. But I'm going to expect that you've heard about John McCain.
John McCain, yes.
Right? Presidential candidate. He is an alum of the school, or was an alum of the school. And Ravenel was his English teacher. And so this teacher had a significant impact on him. And Episcopal has a thing called honor code, and that, we care a lot about character formation and development of the student, as well as, academic excellence. So this teacher made a significant impact on John McCain. And so to honor that relationship and the formative relationship between teacher and student, instead of just naming the center for John McCain, it was named for both him and this teacher that played such a pivotal role. And we are the group that aims to connect the school community with the world beyond our walls. So whether that is during the school week, we're having classes that are going out and using the city as part of the classroom space, or we're bringing speakers in, or in my case, as students get towards the end of their time at Episcopal as juniors and seniors, we're connecting them with the professional community that's in our environment. So we stretch across many different areas, and that's really the charge. John McCain was definitely someone who cared about building community, serving country, honor. He learned a lot of those values he learned here and carried them on into the rest of his life. And Episcopal seeks to instill a same commitment to service, to community, and we want to prepare our students to be ready for the next phase. We're not trying to box them into a specific area, but we're trying to give them early exposure.
Yeah, that's very good. I'm glad you're sharing all of that on one hand, because people tend to look at religious schools such as Episcopal, that it's narrow-minded, like if you come to a religious school, that you're going to learn only about that religion or the denomination, and you're very prejudicial against everything. So it's very good that you're sharing that it is openness.
Yeah, I definitely was a little skeptical at first, and I hear Episcopal school, when I came in, and what I found was community, and certainly there, the religious part, I would call it the spiritual part of life, plays an important role. In fact, this morning, we had a gathering in the school chapel, and it was more reflective, meditative space, right? And so we have what people would expect from a traditional religious service. We have a short one that happens in the middle of the week, but we also get together as a community space to share stories, to talk about, the non-material side of life, to talk about just centering yourself. Students use the space in the evenings to calm down, to bring the day to a close. So it's not just a space for Christianity, but we understand that our community, being an international community and being a community that's from across the US, they come from different religious backgrounds. And it's not the job or the intention of the school to push those religions aside, but to help students to discover what their spiritual life is going to be. It was an education for me as well.
It's powerful. It's very powerful, because a lot of us think only on the pledge and the national anthem, but we're not thinking about the mindfulness and the spirituality behind it that we needed to, especially at some point in the day or so on. So we need it.
Certainly.
It's very good. I love that. I grew up in the Catholic school in Jamaica, and we had time to reflect and talk about other things other than math and science. And it was powerful, because that's a value. That's value.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you are director of externships for the McCain-Ravenel Center there. What exactly is, in general, because we know we don't have a lot of time, but what exactly is your role there to provide externship in this directorship role?
So it's a combination of building strategic partnerships with businesses, nonprofits, government organizations. So go out and spread the word, tell them about the great work that's happening at Episcopal.
Okay.
And on the internal side, I am preparing students with the documents, the typical documents that they need. So how do you do a resume, a cover letter? How, I prepare the general description of the program, and I bring in professionals or alumni who can help students get ready for transition from the academic setting into the professional landscape. I also have a team of about 10, we're a total of 10 people. And so we work in a cohort model. And so it's my job to basically set the agenda for that team, and also to create whatever training needs to happen so that we can best serve the students when the time comes. Each cohort has about 10 to 14 students. Mm-hmm. And we'll start working about late November, late December. We start putting information out so students can start getting ready and think through what they want to do. This is for the seniors. Mm-hmm. Right now, during the fall, like, we have an afternoon option. And in the afternoon option, I'm typically working by myself. So I have a maximum, I'm going to have about 14 students. Oh. And they are working in the afternoon. They're shadowing a profession that they're interested in the afternoon. So instead of doing as normal, they would do, say, soccer or basketball. For juniors and seniors, they have the options to take one season mm-hmm. and go and shadow a profession that they're interested in. So from 4 to 6, roughly speaking, yeah. Or may flex a little bit with the schedule in order to make it work for the organization. So to summarize, right, I train the students in terms of preparing their documents. I get our team kind of ready to go. I build strategic partnerships for the rest of the business and the Alexandria community, as well as in DC. And whatever opportunities that I see in the space that can help students understand the professional landscape, mm-hmm. I bring that information in so that they can get ready.
Wow. You know, my heart is bubbling, because when we first talk about this, I'm like, wow, we have so many businesses around, and I'm thinking about my background in Jamaica, how we can prepare high school students for life by doing this instead of them have to leave high school and then go into vocational training, which is skills training, or go into medicine or law and so on. When you look at it, they're actually developing the skill alongside their academic life in high school. So this is powerful.
Yeah, you know, when you're looking at your professional life, and a lot of us, what we're doing is we're going in a direction based on hearsay, right?
Yes.
Somebody said this is a good career, or somebody said you make a lot of money in this career, or something like that. Now you have a chance to actually step into the space and explore it and see if is it actually right for you. And then you can develop your professional network or start building one, right? Maybe when you go in, maybe you're interested in, say, accounting, and you go in, you end up talking, while you're there, you're talking to the marketing person.
Right.
And you realize that actually marketing is better for you. So you go, you explore, you can discover something new, right? And that might lead to a difference, a change in what you were going to do when you get to college.
Yeah.
So I really look at the period as an exploratory period. And if it leads to confirmation of what you thought you were going to do, then perfect. If it leads to a new discovery, we love that. But at least you learn the difference between solving problems in an academic setting and solving problems in real time for a paying client. And you also see, I think there's a chance that you see that you can actually create your own solutions, because these organizations, at least in our case, they bring the students in and show them the real challenge. And so the students really have a chance to develop their problem-solving capabilities and understand how the profession works. So they come back and they're super excited. They're also very tired.
Of course.
They're also very tired.
And you do want them to be tired, because these are teenagers in their late teens. So you want them to be tired, sweat and tears and everything else. Yeah.
There's empathy too, to travel, especially in a boarding school, you're walking across campus, that's your day. Suddenly when you have to use public transportation and you got to travel an hour and a half to get to the place, and then you'll be going all day, and then travel, come back, and we have stuff for you to do in the evening. You start to understand what it was that your parents were we're going through, or the other adults are going through, or what it actually looks like. And so you're like, yeah. So the first day is usually a lot. Usually
Yeah. So you do a lot of do you do a lot of counseling with them? Like check-in. It's how you like it's like SEL check-in, socio-emotional check-in with them. How are you
right.
doing? How are you coping with this?
Right. So we will set I look at this as for the seniors in particular, I look at this as our last lesson. Right. We spent
Oh.
last 4 years
Mhm.
teaching them the academic stuff and habits and all of this time. And this is the last lesson, is really how to run your life on your own. And
Hmm.
so how to manage your time, how to manage your health, right? And how to manage your attention. And so
Yeah.
yes, we want to check in around those things. How is it going? We want to talk about the realities out there that, you are now in the general population. You might overhear conversation, you might get some attention that you didn't find welcome. How do you deal with those situations?
Yeah, yeah.
Having the conversations about all of it. It's not a idealized clinical setting. It's life as it's happening, and we are definite. And that's why we're in the cohort model, right? That's
Yeah.
why it's not 1 to 100. It's 1 to 10 to 14 people, because you can actually check in at
My,
that. So
yeah.
the cohort leaders help with, the resume and cover letter, so on the front end. And then when you come back, each week, we have at least one meeting each week where we're checking in with them to see how did it go and help them process, right?
Wow.
It's not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
doing, you have to reflect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so pertaining to you, because this is a student, and we could talk about partnership in the community, how other schools can create this externship, because there's a process that they can do and take on. How difficult it is for the school to invest in these type of externship model.
So one of the things that classifies someone might be wondering, what's the difference between the externship and the internship?
Yeah.
Typically, when we say externship, at least in our case, we're thinking you have academic credit attached to it.
Mhm.
And these positions are not meant to be paid positions, right?
Oh, that's my question was gonna be. Okay.
However, there's still expenses associated with the program, and there's still risk management and all of that. So the student is traveling, right? So in our case, we're able to cover the cost of traveling, public transportation. So the Dash bus for Alexandria, the metro going into DC.
Mhm.
We provide a meal. So if they're going to be out for lunch, then we send food with them. So you have transportation, you have food. And then there are some cases where they cannot get to the location using public transportation in a reasonable time. And so you're going to use a different form of transportation there. And that's going to be a higher cost.
Okay.
You also need to build and maintain the relationships, right? Uh, these organizations are taking your students in, and it's not a practice run. These are their real clients. And
Yeah.
so hearing our students to understand that and to show up with their best selves. So the organization, you need to have someone dedicated to doing that.
Mhm.
And then the like I said, the risk management side, right? Talking to students about all the different layers of interaction and expectations, and letting them know what is okay and what's not, right?
Yeah.
You are here in this organization to learn, to discover something,
Mhm.
but there are no favors being exchanged or
Yeah.
anything like that. So we prepare, you got to prepare your students. We
Yeah.
also usually have a contract that the students sign in schools, and the families sign, so that they understand, this is a different setting. This is not school environment. This is outside. So it's similar to if you're traveling abroad on these international programs, and you usually sign a
Mhm.
contract. Everyone knows what the expectations are.
Mhm.
Like on campus, our goal is always to have our students safe and have it be a positive experience, and we're there monitoring and ready to step in.
Yeah.
But we want to understand the full scope of what we're doing.
Yeah. Wow, it's powerful. Yeah, I love it. I love it because it's preparing them for real world. Um, there's so many questions I have to ask, but because of the time, I want to ask you though, because this is about you. What prepared you or for this position? Because I'm sure there were other avenues, and then this happened. the director for externship. What prepared you for this?
So one of the things I've realized is, I think you and I talked about this, that we both grew up without enough resources, economic resources.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for ways to solve that for the generation that's coming up, right? So there's just a desire and a passion to build those bridges and open those doors, and wherever that can happen, that excites me. And so this is an opportunity that I want every student to have, right? So it comes from that. And then I've gone through, when you're working in these independent schools, one of the great things that they have are these professional development budgets, right?
Yeah.
So in New York, there's an organization called ILI, Interschool Leadership Institute, and I'm an alum of that.
Yes.
So I've talked about, organizational leadership. I have led a dorm. I've led international programs before. Right. So the risk management side of things, the program planning, itinerary, building relationships, all that came up. And sometimes I joke that whenever I get nervous about something, right, I look back in Jamaica and like, actually, I am very well prepared for this, because growing up in Jamaica, when it's revival time, right? and Sunday, and you go walking and you go, I don't know if you did this, but I did this, where you go knocking on doors, inviting people to Bible study. That's basically like sales, right? Cold calling. So I have to do a lot of cold calling. Congregation also very early on, as well as Johnathan Grant, gave me positions of leadership. Right. So I was a head boy for my class. And before I left Jamaica at 16, my church congregation invited me to speak, to pray, to do communion. So I've had a long history of people showing up for me. Yeah. Telling me that I can do this and creating opportunities for me. So I think probably there are the formal professional development things that I've done, right? And there are the people that showed up for me. And the last thing that I did before applying to this position was I applied to this program called Leadership and Development. It was a fellowship, one fellowship, and it's where it allowed me to crystallize what I'm about as a person, a leader, and what I'm passionate about, and what's worth my time. So in the process of applying for this position, I had 2 programs that I could apply for. And at some point, I actually pulled my application because I was wondering whether this is the right thing, right? And then decided, I had a conversation with one of my supervisors, and she encouraged me to move forward, and so I did. So that last leadership development seminar, fellowship, leadership and design, helped me to just crystallize all of these things, the leadership in the church, the leadership in high school, all the other spaces where I've showed up and done a good job, to say, yes, this is a time to step up. Yeah, time to step up indeed. And it's credit to the people around you. It's all about community too. Is very good. Very good. And your background speaks a lot of truth to this. Where it's been long coming, as the songwriter says. It's been a long coming. I really appreciate you. Last thing before we close off is the Spanish. You're a Spanish teacher. And I wondered, like, we share about all of this leadership and partnership with community and businesses and organizations, and the Spanish. And you're a teacher of Spanish, a Jamaican teaching Spanish. It's really remarkable. How does that fit into this? Well, I got a shout out to Senora Frank, 40 plus years at Johnathan Grant, and probably over 40 years as an educator in Jamaica. I'd love for you to meet her and maybe talk to her. She's an amazing woman, and she's still making waves in Spanish Town. So I need to reach out to her. Yes, we connect. So so she was the last mile in Jamaica, and I think there's a Miss Campbell. I remembered her from first year. But I studied in Jamaica, then I spent 2 years in Wales. I had roommates from Spain and Canary Islands, and so that gives me a chance to practice. And then while I was studying in college, Washington and Lee, I studied abroad in Costa Rica for 3 months or a whole term, and I enrolled. My Spanish was good enough by then to enroll in a university with the students there.
Yeah.
And so I was studying history and economics like in Spanish, just like another student. And so I've had those opportunities, and then I mentioned the international programs that I've led. They were always to a Spanish-speaking country. So I spent about 5 springs in Bolivia, spent summer studying, and then another summer bringing students to Guadalajara, Mexico. So I've had lots of opportunities to actually be in country and talk, immerse myself. So I think of my role right now in the classroom as setting that platform for students to have the start. But I really strongly encourage people to go into a native speaking environment. And here in the US, right? You don't always have to go to another country. Here in the US, you can go to communities. There are congregations or communities that are Spanish dominant. And this is another way to connect.
Yes.
Right? So you talked about the pledge, and I've been thinking a little bit about the Jamaican pledge, like before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, right?
Yes.
All of those things like come together. And so it's been great that my Spanish teacher, Senora Frank, gave me this gift that allows me to connect not just within my own native language group, but across so many different countries and cultures. And it's been an amazing experience.
That's powerful, powerful. And we can close on that note then. Thank you so much, Norman, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I know you're very busy, and carving out this time is I really appreciate it, down to my heart. And then we'll talk about other things later on. So I really appreciate it. And shout out to Senora Frank too for instilling that in you, the Spanish background. And so it's adding value to your platform right now.
Indeed. If you bring her, she'll have some stories to tell you.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about getting her on the program. So thank you. Have a great week, and we'll touch base soon. Viewers, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for watching. This has been EduTALK. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And if you need to reach out to us at edusolutionsintl@gmail.com. That's edusolutionsintl@gmail.com. Also, if you want more information about Mr. Norman King Sr. here, you can reach out to us. Check our website also, edusolutionsintl.org. That's edusolutionsintl.org. Thank you very much for viewing. This has been EduTALK. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.